I'm Richard Gearhart, founder of Gearhart Law, a full-service intellectual property law firm.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, not an attorney, but I do work at Gearhart Law doing the marketing, and I have my own startup.
Welcome to Passage to Profit, everybody, the road to entrepreneurship, where we talk with small businesses, inventors, entrepreneurs, and discuss the intellectual property that helps them flourish. On tonight's show, we have the marvelous Marci Hopkins, who is the host of the TV show Wake Up with Marci, and she's also an inventor and an author.
And then we have Todd Cooper with Waxelene. Where was this product when I was a teenager? I had rashes all over my body. I really needed this. It's an amazing new product, and I'm just going to let him talk about it. And then Dr. Andrew Brandeis, who is changing the supplement market by changing the way that these things are made. I really have to hear his story. So please stay tuned.
That's awesome. But before we get to our distinguished guests, it's time for IP in the news. And the topic tonight is
Bunny murder.
Bunny murder. Well, tell us what happened.
So for those of you who don't know Lindt and Little, the difference. So there's Lindt chocolates, Lindt. They're a Swiss chocolate.
And they're really good too.
And they're delicious. And then there's Little, a German company, Lidl. So Lindt makes holiday themed chocolates wrapped in foil. So they have these bunnies for Easter. They're like maybe 2.5 inches tall. I know because we get them. And they're wrapped in gold.
I always eat the head off of my bunny first when I get it.
They're wrapped in gold foil, and the gold foil has like a little face on the outside and the ribbon around its neck. It's adorable, like perfect for kids or adults. Anyway, right. Little Lidl decided that they were going to make something very similar. And so they wrapped their little chocolate bunnies in gold. They put a green bow around it, but it had a little face on it and whiskers. So they kind of look the same, but kind of different. I think on first glance, they look the same. So
Lindt, in Switzerland, where they take their chocolate very seriously, decided to sue Little for copyright and trademark infringement. And the case went all the way up to the Swiss Supreme Court. And what was the outcome?
So the ruling on it was either trademark or copyright. We're getting both in the articles we're looking at. But it says this one says ruling on trademark case suggests German retailer could melt down and reuse the offending rabbits.
Right. So the court ordered that the chocolate bunnies be melted down, which is bunny slaughter, I think. And I'm not sure it's bunny genocide. I don't know what they call it, but I guess they take their chocolate in Switzerland pretty seriously here. And if you're a chocolate infringer, then watch out.
So I think the important thing here too, though, is that first of all, it was just in Switzerland, so that the ruling was a Swiss court, so they could probably sell.
And it was a Swiss company too. Yeah, so just think about that for a minute.
But they did not look exactly the same.
Right.
They were different a little bit.
And the pictures I've seen about the bunnies are really they're similar in some ways, but they're different shapes, the different shades of gold foil, the bunnies had little bow ties. They had different bow ties. So, I mean, I would be able to tell the difference.
So a lot of these like trademark cases, especially, is likelihood of confusion, right?
Right. But how many different ways can you shape a bunny?
Well, that's true. So I think it was the gold foil that got them.
Anyway, I think it's time for our guest to chime in on this. So Marci, welcome to the show. And tell us.
So great to be here.
Yeah. And so tell us your opinion on this bunny genocide.
Well, first of all, I'd say that Lindt is a brand that we all recognize. And I certainly would know the difference between the bunnies, but I do understand that, they want to protect their brand, and they have come up with this original idea and this beautiful gold wrapping and something that's been very appealing and we are all used to. And so then for another company to come along and say, hey, that looks pretty good, let's try it, we'll change some of these things, it is creating the confusion. And so someone may not really be paying attention and grab the other bunny. So, being that I have a product that's going to be coming out, I think about those things. Somebody changes something and then now they're passing off their product to do the same thing that mine does. So I think it's good that they took them to court. And I don't know about melting all the bunnies. Maybe something could have been done
To save
for
the
those less
bunnies,
fortunate.
yeah.
If they had to do that, but that's my feeling. I think that, we need to protect our own brands, and Lindt has a brand and an incredible one, and good for them.
I agree. And I think too, that what if the little chocolate tastes terrible? I mean, and people think it's Lindt chocolate.
Exactly.
That's what can
Mhm.
happen too.
Yeah, well, that's why they have the laws and the copyright and the trademark laws to protect people who feel like they're being infringed. So that was a great comment. Todd, what are your thoughts?
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a very interesting case and very tasty case at that.
I wonder if the
and-
judges had to sample the chocolate during the
They-
proceeding.
They definitely bit the ears off of all the chocolates before they melted it down. But before you melt these down,
Oh,
gotta bite the ears off.
No, that sounds kind of unsanitary. But
That
anyway,
wouldn't, yeah,
please
that
continue.
wouldn't, that wouldn't pass. Well, who framed Roger Rabbit anyway? I don't know. I thought Switzerland was neutral, and it's just
Not when it comes to chocolate.
that's
Yeah,
it. That's where they draw the line there.
That's where they
Yes.
draw the line. So, well, that's good. Well, we appreciate that. So does this sound like a just decision or
You really have to look at all the details of the case, but I know that implication has a lot to do with trademarks, and the trademark laws do vary from country to country.
Mhm.
But sometimes even if you try to spell a name differently, but it sounds the same, like if you have cat, but you spell it with a K, in some countries, that's enough to constitute that it would be still using that same name because it would phonetically sound the same.
Right.
And then yeah, I think that if it's implied that you're that it's the same type of product, because Lindt could change their packaging over the years a little bit too, right? They might change their logo slightly with the styling to keep up with the times and current trends. And so someone might think this is that. So I think it's that possibility of the implication.
Right. And you hit on something there too, which is part of the definition of trademark infringement is similarity in sight, sound, and meaning. So they look at those elements when a court is trying to decide if there's an infringement. And what's interesting here is I'm not surprised at the decision, but there's a difference between the decision and the remedy, right? So if you're found to be an infringer, then you have to pay the price, and melting the bunnies down was just a very unusual remedy. We wouldn't typically, court wouldn't order that in the United States, or at least I haven't heard of
The
that.
court ordered it. I think they suggested it.
Oh, well, I guess, so the court was trying to say, well, it's not a total loss. I guess.
That was
The punishment fits the crime, though.
No, the
So
ruler suggested it. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Dr. Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Well, as a doctor, I part of me just kind of cringes a little bit knowing that there's candy being marketed to kids as cute little bunnies. So part of me is happy that they got ordered to be melted down. But I totally agree with what's already been said here, right? If you're a business, you want to protect your IP. And I think knowing that the courts are behind you and that whatever you do produce and put out there in the market, you can own and you'll be protected. So, not much more to add, but I do agree with everything that's been said.
I like your point that we're teaching our kids to eat little bunnies.
Well,
Little
if you're trying to create a vegan society, where does this lead? Right? I mean, where's the rabbit I had when I was 12 years old? I want some rabbit. So anyway, well, all right. So on to our featured guest today, and that's Marci Hopkins, Marci, so nice to see you again. And I'm just going to say a few words about Marci. She is an award-winning TV personality, host, show creator, and the executive producer of Wake Up with Marci, which airs on CBS-owned WLNY TV. And that's channel 1055 at 10 a.m. on Saturdays. We've certainly caught our share of episodes. So we love you, Marci. And
Thank you.
It's a talk show about empowerment, and she shares stories of triumph and transformation. So definitely tune it in. It will help you start your weekend off on the right foot. So welcome to the show, and tell us, what have you been up to lately? So
Oh, thank you so much for having me back on, and really some great things. I finally launched my book. That was in May, and that's been going really well. Chaos to Clarity, Seeing the Signs and Breaking the Cycles. And that's really just an extension of my message of trying to help people through my story of hardships and now being so triumphant in life and living such an abundant, beautiful life, and how I got here and how I made those changes in my life. And that's really what I want to give people is hope and the ability to know that no matter what they're going through, that they can make a change. And what are the action items that are necessary to make those changes? And also, I have finally almost come to market my invention called Car Essentials, which is a car organizer, which is something that literally 14 years ago, I had this idea about this small car organizer in my car when my daughter was 2 years old, so I could have easy access to toys or a sippy cup or something to keep her entertained. And now, fast forward, my daughter's 16, and now I use it for personal items for my daughter, my snacks, my water bottles, the hand sanitizer. So it's just really for you to organize your car for whatever your car essentials are.
Well, that's awesome. No more fumbling around for the easy pass, right?
Exactly.
And I since I know Marci, I have one, and it's great that you can. You get to move the dividers, and it
The
has
dividers.
and the pockets and everything. It's a great
It's
product.
great for road trips too.
And I use it.
Yeah.
I use it every day. So when it comes
Thank
out,
you.
you're
Thank you.
prepared to be inundated with orders. I'm sure it's going to be great.
So Marci, what size cars do you have them? I know we've seen him using it, but we saw it at a trade show that you were at where you demonstrated.
Yes.
Do you have different sizes for different cars? I can't remember.
No, it's like 11 by 9. It's on the smaller size because all of the car organizers out right now are actually large. Or they're just somewhat cumbersome, and they have tons of pockets. And honestly, for me, it's like, yeah, you're trying to get organized, but I'm lost by all the places I can put the things, or it's very deep. And this is literally something that you can put anywhere in your car. And like you were saying, that it has the divider, so you can create this box the way that you want it to be and the size that you need it to be, so you don't have stuff that's in your car door or in your middle console or things rolling around. So right now, when I launch it, it will be the same size, but I do hope to create different sizes, different colors. Right now, it's a very sleek gray and black with silver logo.
So I want to go back to your book, and I haven't had a chance to read the book yet, but you did say that you have drawn on your past experiences to help get your message out there. Can you share some of those experiences with our audience and tell your story so that they can understand how this transformation took place for you?
Yes. So My mother had me very young, and so I was put in situations with other men and such, and so there was physical abuse, mental abuse. My father wasn't around, so there were abandonment issues. Once the physical abuse started with one of her boyfriends, I moved in with my grandparents. I lived there for a good chunk of my childhood, about 7 years. My mother remarried, and I thought I was going to have this beautiful life that I'd always dreamed of. Like, he was our knight in shining armor. Well, it wasn't too long into it that sexual abuse started, and my mother did not leave. She was very weak. She also has had addiction issues, and so we stayed in that household. And once we got out of that, finally, right before my senior year of high school, her addiction just took her over, and it was very difficult. I became the mother in that relationship, and I actually had found alcohol during this time, and it helped me to cope. I did manage to go to school. I had a successful career, but all the while I was drinking, had very negative cycles in my life, had very negative relationships in my life, and that was very difficult. I had patterns in my life that we create these patterns in our lives, and I was then married, and then had my 2 children, and I started acting. I'd always worked in television, but I got in front of the camera, and that's really when things started declining for me, because when it came to drinking, because I put myself in a situation where I was being judged all the time, and I had no self-love, I had no self-esteem. I was very much a victim, and being the victim mentality is very much a coping mechanism. And again, the drinking. And so it just got to a place where I was drinking my liquid courage all the time. And that slippery slope began. And everything was falling apart around my life. One of my cycles is thinking it was my husband's fault, everyone else's fault. I wanted out. I was going to start another life. This is my thought process. You're terrible to me. And then I had a rock bottom, and I had gone on a gig, and I had my liquid courage. I went out afterwards, was drinking, and I ended up getting behind the wheel of the car, and I got a DUI. And so when I went to bed, I was still that victim. I was like, this has happened to me. And if I were in a better situation, this wouldn't have happened to me. But I woke up the next morning and something wonderful happened. And I had let down that guard. And I finally said to myself, Marci, you need help. You're an alcoholic, and you are about to lose everything in your life that you've built so hard, so you've worked so hard to build. And I went downstairs, and I shared with my husband that I needed help. We sat on the couch, and he embraced me, and it was the first time I felt love. And that's where my journey began, my healing journey began. And I went to the 12-step program that day, and I just surrendered. I surrendered to the fact that I needed help. And he showed me what love was. I had it in front of me all this time, and I didn't even realize it because I didn't know how to love myself. I had been shown what love looked like, and it was a very dirty love. And so once I started with my 12-step program, and that's where the miracles began, and I started doing the work. And yes, I'd done therapy and all of those things, but it was through those 12 steps that the miracles began for me, and the real healing began. And that's where I had the idea for a talk show. I started a social media talk show called Coffee with Marci. Then I was living this beautiful life. I wanted to give more to people, and that's when I launched Wake Up with Marci. And I've had Wake Up with Marci for the last 5 years, and I celebrated 7 years of sobriety yesterday, October 4th. So life is wonderful, and I just want to spread the message how to do it, and that it is possible. And that's my mission in life now that God's put me on.
That's great. We have to take a break, but we'll be right back, and we want to know how you are moving forward and the steps that you can take, or anyone can take, to see their best selves. So you're listening to Passage to Profit with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, our special guest today, Marci Hopkins, and she has quite a story, and we'll hear more right after this commercial break.
Welcome back, listeners, to Passage to Profit, Road to Entrepreneurship with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart, and our special guest today, Marci Hopkins from Wake Up with Marci. Marci just told us a beautiful story, and we cannot wait to hear more about how she totally changed her life just by accepting responsibility, really. So, Marci, we still have plenty more to talk about. You mentioned that you have your book, Chaos to Clarity, Seeing the Signs and Breaking the Cycles. And can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I go in depth with my story. And listen, I've heard that it's kind of a hard read in the beginning, because I do start off with the abuse, and I want to bring people into the story. And then what I want is for people to start relating. And it doesn't have to be the same, because the most of us have gone through some sort of trauma. We weren't getting what we needed from our family, from our parents, the nurturing, whatever it may be. So I start educating the reader through my story about how maybe this is happening to them, and what that looks like, or how it affects you. Or maybe it's a child in your family that this is happening to, and this is what it looks like. So I start there, and then it starts unfolding about how I start changing my life, and what tools I started to learn, and how that started shaping my life, and how my life started changing. And then I add in there introspective work and prompts for the reader, so they too can start their healing. And also there's action items, and because no matter what we do in this life, we can say we want change, and it doesn't matter in what capacity, but we must make we must do the work, and we must take action. It's so important.
Yeah. And what I love about your story and your message is that change is possible. And I think sometimes we get stuck in this mindset where I'm always going to be this same person, or things are always going to be this way. And it really is possible to make changes in your life and improve things. And
It is.
and it's sometimes it's physical, it's exercise or whatever, but it's something that can actually happen with that. And I think that's a great message. I think we need to keep telling people that if you don't like your life and you don't like your situation, you can fix it. You really can. So
Yeah, and I think what happens is we start comparing ourselves to other people. We overwhelm ourselves with the idea of change, and we make these big, grandiose ideas of what that's supposed to be. But really, no matter where you are in your life, you can start making small little goals. And once you start reaching that small little goal, then you can make this next small little goal. And then it's just that cycle begins where you start trusting yourself and realizing, yes, I can make a change. It doesn't have to be huge. Start small, and then those bigger changes will happen for you.
I think that's great advice. I went to a nutritionist, and she gave me a whole new way of eating. And I did it and I just got so overwhelmed by it. And it was like,
Yes. Yeah.
I need to have a cracker.
One, one carb, please, just one carb.
But I think what's
Yeah.
interesting about what you said, so this is a show for entrepreneurs, and you're obviously an entrepreneur, but you said you have to just do it. You have to start. You have to
Yeah.
do it. And that's what we tell entrepreneurs. Like, you're an inventor as well. You just invented this car organizer, and you have to go out there and do it. You can't just have the idea and sit around going, what a great idea. I'm going to tell all my friends about it. And they're going to say I'm a really smart person. You have to take action. And I think that's what's powerful.
Yeah. And if it's a great idea, please do it, because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And then now they're creating the success for themselves on an idea you had.
I can't tell you how many clients we get who come in and say, I had that idea and they're making a lot of money for it 5 years ago, and I never did anything with it, and I regret it. So I've got a new idea, and I'm not going to let that chance slip through my fingers. So it's so important. And what I think when people like you tell your story about the challenges that you faced, people realize, well, I'm not the only one who's had problems and challenges, and somehow Marci powered through. And most people, as you said, most people have had traumas, just like all entrepreneurs, I think, have had difficulties with their businesses at one point or another. It's never just a smooth ride to the top. If it were, then everybody would do it, but it takes a lot of grit sometimes to get to where you want to go, and you have to. So there's ups and downs, and so part of the entrepreneurial process is growing as a business person to manage those challenges and manage yourself when those challenges come up, so you can still take action.
And it's so much is mindset. And that's really in anything, whether an entrepreneur or your mom or whatever it may be. And then there's so much fear, and that's what holds people back so often. And then if you fail, I'm not going to do it. Listen, there's been many times in the things that I have done that I have said, I don't think I can do this anymore. It's just too much. But you know what? Feel the emotion. You're allowed to feel the emotion, but then realize that you can shift how you feel later in the day, or go to bed and wake up with a new mindset. It's okay to feel it, but just be able to move past it.
Right. And I think, they did a study once about Olympic athletes, and they said those athletes are more nervous than non-Olympic athletes before a performance or a contest. But those athletes are able to put that aside, and it helps bring out the best in them. But the point is the people who are out there on the track are more scared than the people who aren't out on the track, yet they do exactly what you say. They put it aside and they're able to succeed. So
and I just want to say there's a lot of things like that I had to do, like the shifts, and this is what helps you, again, no matter where you are in life and what you're doing. But you start to move into a gratitude place where it doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a Lamborghini in the garage. It can be that you have clothes on your back, that you have a window, you're looking out in the beautiful day. You may be in a hospital bed, but there's really things that you can find that you're grateful for, that you have people taking care of you, that you have a window that you can look out at the beautiful sky, that you have family that loves you, that you have breath, that you're not dead. There's just so many things. It doesn't matter where you're at, to start finding the gratitude. And then also to believe in something bigger than yourself, a higher power. And I think a lot of times people get afraid of that because of how we were raised, and God, and organized religion. And it doesn't have to be that. It's more of a spiritual energy, vibrational type of beautiful connection that I have found. And That's helped me so much. So there's just, and that's what in my book I say, seeing signs from the other side. So once I started opening myself up to it, the signs are everywhere. So it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. You know what? I'm gonna have to read this book because I see signs too, and I'm like, should I really pay attention to this or should I not?
Yeah.
About the higher power in religions. I went to Catholic school as a kid, and
Yeah.
I remember we had catechism class, and the teachers saying, "Well, Christians have to suffer and endure major hardships for their God." And I'm a little kid, and I'm going like, "But I thought God
Boy,
loved
that
us."
really
Like,
stinks.
yeah, like,
I know. It's scary. It's confusing. I know my daughter's in a Catholic school. Like,
Get ready to be miserable. You know?
exactly.
Not
No,
that I have
God
anything
is all
against-
about love. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's
Yeah.
all about love and our connection to each other. So anyway.
It is true that everybody goes through hardships. Even if you have had the perfect life and nothing has ever gone wrong, which we had someone on the show that said her life was perfect.
Oh, geez. I want to meet that person.
It was pretty awesome. Anyway, one day somebody or a pet, a human is going to die that you love. And your perfect world is going to be turned upside down. I know I went into shock when my mother died, like absolute shock. And so I think everybody has hardships. It's how you power through them and get out to the other side. And that's what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are wonderful. So, how would you apply the things that we've been talking about if you were tutoring an entrepreneur or talking with them and giving them suggestions on how to improve their business? How would you kind of relate a lot of what you're saying to a business owner or a new business owner?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is you don't want to overwhelm yourself with the full picture or what you think you want at the end of the day. And you can't think about money right away. I think it's very important that, yes, ultimately we need to make money. But if that is the only reason like you're doing this, I think you need to have some sort of purpose and passion behind what it is that you're doing. And so to take those small steps, I feel that in everything that I've done, a lot of times people are like, I don't know how you do it all. But each day I just try to make progress. So just put one foot in front of the next one each day, make progress each day, and don't think about the future or the big picture, and do the steps that are necessary. Ask for help. Because there's so many people that are out there and we need help. We don't know everything. And we just need to make sure that, again, that we are realistic, that this is not going to be the easiest path. It's going to be hopefully ultimately rewarding because this is something you're passionate about and this is something you want. But there are going to be failures, and look at that failure as a gift, because what are you learning through it? And don't let that cripple you, and continue with perseverance and tenacity, and just believe in yourself. Ultimately, believe in yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, I like that, breaking it down into smaller chunks. It's kind of like after Thanksgiving dinner, go and stand in the middle of your kitchen and you're like, start. Right?
Wait, I go and stand in the middle of the kitchen.
And where do I start? Okay, well, I'm going to start in this corner. And then I'm going to work my way around the whole room. One piece of cutlery, one dish at a time, right?
That's a really good analogy, though. If you can think of building a business like doing the dishes, I think that'll take a lot of the fear out of it.
Also make it a lot.
Absolutely.
And you'll probably have cleaner kitchens.
I've heard the comparison of a waffle brain. So you think of it as a waffle in each little piece that you can take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
So I do think that breaking something huge like that down into small pieces is a super good idea.
Yeah,
And doing a little bit every day. And I think I like your attitude too. Like every day counts. You know, you have to do something every day because every day counts. And you want to, even if all you do is write a paragraph about why you like your business, right? Or something.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's like talking about celebrating the small wins, right? You
Mhm.
made the phone call, you got some things off your to-do list, you moved forward. I think it's very important that you do that and not only celebrate, oh, my business got an award or whatever. I mean, you know, you got to make those small steps to get to the big reward and the payoff.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a great conversation, Marcia. We've really enjoyed it. We have to go back to another commercial, but thank you so much. And
Thank you.
we look forward, if you can stick around and help us with our presenters. I think that would be a great experience for everyone. So we'll be back right
Awesome.
after this.
With more Passage to Profit.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Passage to Profit. This is Richard Gearhart, along with co-host Elizabeth Gearhart and our very special guest, Marci Hopkins, who really, I felt so inspired during our discussion, and I feel like I learned so much, and it's such a pleasure to have her on the show, you know.
Oh, yeah, she has her own TV show, Wake Up with Marci, at 10 o'clock in the morning on a local station here. And it's a wonderful TV show. And she has a book. I mean, this woman does it all. So if you missed anything we talked about, you can hear it on our podcast tomorrow, which will be on all the major podcast sites.
Right.
But now it is time for me to talk about my startup, as I do every show.
Usually I introduce you, though.
Okay.
You're going to just go right into it without an introduction.
Okay. Introduce me, please.
And now it's time for Elizabeth Gearhart to talk about her startup.
Thank you. So for those of you who haven't heard this before, Fireside Directory is a video directory of small businesses online. And to Marci's earlier point, there are so many moving pieces to this. It's huge. And I was talking to somebody about it. I forget who it was. They're like, wow, that thing is, oh, it was our son. That thing is huge. Because I want him to do some programming for me. And if you've been listening before, Richard had some great ideas. So I drafted a patent application. I'm a patent agent.
Well, but basically,
in
the
both our
idea
names.
for the project is yours. I just
Right.
had a few small things to
You had
contribute.
some good contributions. So I drafted a patent application and we filed it. So that part is done. So now I'm looking for some funding to help. Well, I mean, we use some of our own money, but it's always better to use other people's money, especially if you can get a
I
little
second
interest
that.
rate.
I
So-
definitely second that.
Like neck deep in paperwork with these applications and making sure all my ducks in a row. And I had to get an EIN number for the IRS, which I hadn't really needed before because I don't have any employees and I only have expenses, no income. But I had to do that before I could go on the New Jersey site because you need that for the New Jersey site. And then you can go into the New Jersey site, and New Jersey has all sorts of wonderful programs. And if you're a woman-owned business, you get another advantage. And so I'm like neck deep in paperwork. And while I'm talking to my website designer, who's going to start on the website soon. So
Yeah, it's a lot going on. And if you are in New Jersey, which we are, so I appreciate that this is a nationally broadcast program. But if you happen to be in New Jersey or in whatever state you're at, you definitely want to check out the state's resources for helping entrepreneurs. During the Biden administration, there's been a lot more funding for entrepreneurial programs. In New Jersey, it's the EDA, the Economic Development Authority. And if you go to the websites, they're providing information about getting low interest, low cost loans for startups. You can get seed capital. So normally they want companies that have been in business for a certain amount of time, but now they're starting to fund startups as well. And it's really something that is very exciting. I was asked by the New Jersey EDA to review some of the legal documents that they would be presenting to potential investors. And the programs are really great. And so I think, and a lot of it is driven by federal money. So,
Right, so if you're in New Jersey, it's the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, go to their website, but most states probably have something like this. I think all states probably have something like this. So if you go to your state website and you can search for funding for your startup, I think a lot of states are really supportive of entrepreneurship.
right, absolutely. So, don't miss that opportunity.
Okay, so there you have it. And now I'm really excited to introduce these two guys today that are on the show. The first one is Todd Cooper with Waxelene. I wish that I could have had this product a long time ago, as I've said, but I'm going to let Todd explain it because he will do a much better job than I. So welcome, Todd.
Hi, thanks again for having me on the show. And I would like to first acknowledge Marci for her courage and being so vulnerable, sharing that story. It's just really inspirational, and inspiring people with their personal growth is really the best thing you can do, because if you want to change the world, start by changing yourself and making yourself a better place. And that's really how humanity is going to become so much better.
I think I heard that in a Michael Jackson song at one point.
I'm starting with the man in the earth.
You got it, man.
I know that song. I love that song.
Yeah, so do I. So yeah.
So yeah, okay. And now I'm going to do what I do best, which is talk about myself and Waxelene, which is an amazing product that we started the company with. And it's really interesting because we created this organic version of petroleum jelly. And in doing so, when we went to get it manufactured, the manufacturers had no idea like how to make it or anything. And that's when we realized that it was very patentable, and ended up getting a patent approved for the aeration process, which actually makes it so effective. So instead of just having the waterproof barrier, which is what works really well for dry skin, Waxelene multi-purpose ointment also has the breathability, so it's allowing the skin to breathe. Then you're getting the natural oils to soak in. So it just works really well for dry skin, eczema, and any, there's actually hundreds of different uses for the multi-purpose ointment. So it got really popular really fast. It was in all the CVS pharmacies, all the Sprouts, farmers markets, Whole Foods, Bed Bath and Beyonds, lots of Walgreens. It's been an extremely popular product, sold over 2 million units. Zoe Deschanel doesn't like to leave home without it. Gigi Hadid uses it on her cheeks. Hilaria Baldwin uses it on the whole family. So it's been a great product, and we've expanded the range to include some mud masks, and actually have a product we did with Hilaria Baldwin, the calming ointment. And we're looking to do a sensitive skincare range of like shampoos, conditioners, and soaps with SkinSafe, who are the leading authority on sensitive skincare products.
That's excellent. Can you disclose what the base is if it's not petroleum oil products?
Yeah, so it's organic soy oil, vitamin E oil, beeswax, organic beeswax, and organic rosemary oil. Just those 4 ingredients. And so yeah, no funny stuff, nothing in there you can't pronounce.
What was the first one, did you say?
Organic soy oil, soybean oil.
Soybean oil.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and just to reiterate, so the properties are the same as Vaseline, is that right? I mean, it has. Would you be able to tell the difference in a smudge test or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think you would. It's actually much nicer. It is really viscous like that, which is the challenge, to get something that has that really high viscosity to create that waterproof barrier. But because of the aeration process, it's giving that breathability, so it doesn't feel quite as thick. And a lot of people say, oh, it's not greasy, because grease is like from petroleum, it's from crude oil. That's what you put in your car, like petroleum jelly is made from crude oil. It's just like refined crude oil. Like that's you could literally, like, yeah. Anyway,
You could put it in your car. No, you don't. You wouldn't want to do that, probably.
Don't do that. But it's
point
literally it's literally made from the same thing. And whereas Waxelene is made from oils and beeswax, so you do notice it's a much nicer, it's a much higher quality, obviously, product, and therefore it is more effective. Dermatologists have been recommending petroleum jelly for dry skin and eczema for a century, but it's just about time someone improved it by getting that same waterproof barrier, but also getting those natural organic oils to soak in, and having the breathability as well.
So I'm looking at my notes here, and not only are you not using oil, which is awesome, it's a sustainable product, but you are actually allocating 2% of your sales to remove ocean-bound plastics. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. We that's something I'm really passionate about. Actually, president of a not-for-profit called Kina in Australia, and we remove we plant trees as well. We remove the plastic from the waterways and then plant trees to offset the carbon footprint of removing the plastic from the waterways. So it's all about keeping it neutral. Australia is what it's called. And we're actually going out this weekend. I'm going to be cleaning out Double Island Point in eastern seaboard of Queensland, Australia. We're going to usually get a few thousand kilograms. So basically a couple tons of plastic this weekend. So yeah, it's something I do for fun. That's
well, we have a messy backyard, so if you find your way over here, then feel free. So what motivated you to create this business? Was it more on practical terms, or do you have a fondness for gels, or kind of what got you into this, I guess, is my question.
That is a really good question. Actually, we're looking at making a product that was going to contain petroleum jelly as a base, and didn't want to use petroleum products, so couldn't find a really good natural alternative. And that's when the light bulb went on, and did the market research. And I've always been really disappointed with the cosmetic and personal care industry as a whole, how they kind of push this whole narrative of like, you're not beautiful enough, so you have to put this I hesitate to use the word, but a lot of it is toxic. It's made of ingredients you can't even pronounce, and it's not necessarily that good for you. They just tell you what it is on the label. And I've always just been disappointed with the products that were available, and wanted to improve that and create a narrative of like, you are beautiful and you just need to take care of your skin, as opposed to cover it up and try to hide it. And so it all fell into place once we realized, wow, there's this huge market opportunity for an organic personal care products, in particular having an alternative to petroleum jelly.
So Marci, do you have a question?
Well, my gosh, he just made me start thinking about all the makeup and stuff I've put on my skin and what's seeping into my body. So I'm a little thrown off by that right now.
Well, and plus we live in New Jersey, right? Which is famous for our toxic Superfund sites, so.
Exactly. And also the thought of crude oil, and so you finding that way of creating this product that is all natural, has 4 ingredients, which is amazing. And I'd love to know actually, what are each of the uses, and is it good for any age?
Yeah, any age. It is. It's really popular with babies, or moms with the babies. And
is it good for your backside? When babies get
Yeah, diaper rash,
Irritated?
cradle cap, flyaways, and then it's a perfect thing for a mom to take in a baby bag, you know. So moms will say
Mhm.
baby bag, you just need the one thing. You can use it for, you know, if you have chapped lips, if the baby has dry
Okay.
skin, or if there's some chafing, or if you've got a squeaky stroller wheel, whatever it is, you know, you're just like you're totally geared up for pretty much anything that comes your way. Which is why like Zoe Deschanel just keeps it in her bag with her, because you know why, you know, that way you're just ready for anything.
So can it
It's great. Yeah.
soothe dry lips?
It's really good for chaplets. We have a lip, it's the multi-purpose ointment, but it comes in a lip tube, and yeah, just for easier application. But you can always use the jars. We make glass jars with metal lids, so that there's a non-plastic packaging option, and that's how it started. And then when we introduced the plastic packaging, and also realizing that even the glass jars have plastic wrapping everything, and so that's why we do the
Mm.
plastic removal. But yeah, the lip tubes, and we have a travel tube and a large tube that also, they all work really well for the lips. And we had a card at one point with 100 different uses, um, and it's actually kind of entertaining. I know the makeup industry, a lot of the celebrity makeup artists use it, like Hailey Berry's makeup artist, Fiona Stiles, used it, as was listed in Red Book magazine one time. And yeah, just because you can use it for apparently creating a dewy effect and some other makeup stuff. I quit using makeup when I left the boy band, so I haven't worn
Really? Were you in
makeup
a boy
in
band?
But I want, at this point, we've been talking about what a wonderful, great product this is. Can you spell the name so people are trying to look it up on their computers while they're listening?
Oh yeah, it's Waxelene.com, Waxelene.com.
Excellent. And you're working with Advanced Cosmetic Labs now. So what are your goals for the future? What's your vision for this? What do you see happening?
Well, it's really, we have big visions. You know, a lot of our competitors in the space, like Burt's Bees, for example, are billion-dollar companies. And we have I've developed a lot of different products. And the hard part is choosing which one to go with. And that's why we've elected to go with the sensitive skincare range, because so many of our customers do have eczema, or dry skin is probably the primary use, although there's so many others. So we're really lucky to be launching a partnership with Skin Safe, which is funded by Mayo Clinic and is the leading authority in sensitive skincare products. Like CVS Pharmacy, for example, bases their entire criteria for sensitive skin products off of Skin Safe's website. It's a really useful website for people who have sensitive skin, to find products and to help identify what it is that their skin is sensitive to. And so being able to partner with them and their, you know, these scientists from the Mayo Clinic and everything, to be able to create like not only the best soaps and conditioners and body washes and shampoos. I'm just going to focus on the body wash, because the shampoo and conditioner is no good for me anymore.
Yes. For those
But they,
follically challenged. But before we go, I wanted, Dr. Andrew had a question, and as a doctor, he's indicating that he wants to ask a doctorly question. So Dr. Andrew, jump in with your doctorly question.
Yeah, thanks. It's actually more of a, I want to kind of reaffirm something that I heard. That this may not be so obvious to everybody, but the skin is the largest living organ in the body, right? It's the epidermis. And if it's kind of gross, but if you thought about it all sitting in a pile somewhere, it'd be the biggest organ that we have in the body, and we really don't do much to care for it. So I want to sort of like, I just want to thank Todd for having a product like this, because keeping your skin like moist and healthy really is, like, from a medical perspective, really, really important. And we put all this other stuff on our skin that doesn't help. So having things like this really is quite a boon to the skin. So thanks.
Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of that in a while. I'm not sure I can visualize my skin off in the corner of the room someplace, but I'm sure. Why are you giving me that look? I'm getting the Elizabeth, why are you going there look again. And
Yeah.
then she's shaking her head and rolling her eyes, which is never a good sign from a woman. So anyway, thank you for that. And so we have to wrap this one up, but it's been absolutely great having you on the show, Todd. And
Stick around for later.
stick around for later. We
So-
have some more
Some more
probing questions.
So Todd, please tell us your website one more time and a short list of where people can find your product.
So waxelene.com, waxelene.com, waxelene. And Sprouts Farmers Market is the biggest chain right now that's carrying it. Amazon, of course, iHerb online. Then there's a lot of independent stores as well, like mostly natural grocery stores. And if they don't carry it like at a natural grocery store near you, you can always ask them and they can order it up. And be coming to many more stores again. Like it was in 15,000 stores at one point. And we've been focusing mostly on the online channels. And then we're going to be going back into the large big box stores again with the new sensitive skincare range.
Yeah, when I saw that 15,000 number, that's why I said, give us the short list. So congratulations. And I can hardly wait to try this on the cat, which I know we're not supposed to, but I'm gonna anyway, and on myself. And so we are on to our next presenter now. And that is Dr. Andrew Brandeis with OK Capsule. And he is revolutionizing how supplements are made. So welcome, Dr. Andrew. Please tell us all about what you're doing.
Hey, thanks for having me. And I also do want to just acknowledge Marci for sharing that great story. I took a lot of notes during it. And Todd,
thank you.
amazing product. I really think that more people need to need to take better care of their skin topically. But I am really passionate about the supplements that you could take orally. There's a lot people can do to improve their health, but with the stuff you could put in your mouth. And so my goal sort of as a doctor has become to really help make the low-hanging fruit that people could do for their health, make it really easy. So I'll tell you just a little bit about what we do, and then I can kind of tell you the story of how we got here. OK Capsule is the only private label contract packager for supplements that can do personalization. So what that means is that every person should take the right supplements for them. And so brands want to sell supplements that aren't just in bottles that are on a shelf somewhere and somebody picks up a bottle of, say, biotin or a bottle of calcium, right? What are the right supplements for that person, and how do you package them conveniently for that end consumer? But it's not easy to do that. So we created a technology that allows any brand that you've heard of already to be able to sell personalized supplement packets directly to their customers.
Wow, that's amazing.
So how do you do that? Does somebody fill out a questionnaire or something?
Yeah, so there's a couple of components to this. So on the front end, you've got the customer that's interacting with some technology. So that could be it could be a questionnaire, it could be a DNA test, it could be a microbiome test, it could be a blood test, right? And there's a host of ways to sort of gather that data from a person to figure out like what should this person take, and then that information gets sent to us. And then we'll package that order directly for that customer and drop ship it to them in the brand's packaging. So, say it was, I can't say the names of our customers, but they're big brand names that say it was one of those brands you can imagine in your mind. The customer would receive a personalized packet, a monthly packet of supplements for them in the branded packaging of the brand that they know.
That's pretty
But
cool.
we're in the background doing it all.
So how do I find this so that I can get my own done for me? It's through, let's say I want to do it through, I don't know, Avon or somebody. I don't know if Avon does supplements, but
Right.
GNC or somebody, right?
Sure. Yeah. So you might see this appear on gnc.com, say early next year or so. And the idea would be you'd go to their website and they'd have they'd have a little section that says take a vitamin quiz, right? What supplements are right for you? And you would go and you'd answer just a couple of quick questions, and it would really guide you towards these are the right supplements for you. Now, you can always go deeper than a questionnaire, right? Like a blood test to identify which micronutrients or macronutrients you might be deficient in, which would be the best for you. But it's even a questionnaire that we could figure out your age, your gender, your health goals, health conditions. Even just that little bit of information can tell you so much about what supplements you should take, both to avoid a deficiency, but also to optimize your wellness. And I think that's a key thing to like kind of think about here. You've probably heard of like the RDA, like, you know, the recommended daily allowance of a vitamin. You see it on that nutrition fact panel. What that's telling you is not how much of a vitamin you need to optimize your health. It's telling you how much you need to avoid a deficiency. So like you need this much vitamin C to not get scurvy. I don't really know anyone these days, like, you know, in a developed world that gets scurvy. So why haven't we evolved what goes on the nutrition fact panel to say like, this is how much vitamin C you would need to optimize your wellness? And I think that's where we finally are at with like the health and wellness industry. We've moved, you know, over the last several hundred years, we've moved away from like a deficiency of vitamins and minerals. And now we're entering an age where we can really optimize our health, well-being, longevity, health span, et cetera.
Wow, that's really great. Marci, what are your thoughts?
Well, I have a couple. First of all, I think it's amazing because we all are made up so differently. Our chemical body makeups are all different. What do you say to the argument that our bodies do not absorb pills, or that came out for, and that, you know, vitamin supplements don't do anything for you anyway?
Sure. I actually I used to hear that a lot. The thing is, there's high and low quality everything, right? Like you can even get like low quality generic pharmaceuticals occasionally. So if you're taking a low quality supplement, it's true that you might not absorb it. And just to be clear, what absorption means is you put it in your mouth, but then it has to get from your digestive tract into your bloodstream, right? That's absorption. So there's various things you could do to improve absorption in the manufacturing process, but also just the quality of the raw material itself. And so that's why you might see like cheaper supplements on a shelf somewhere versus a more expensive version of something that looks similar. And you might say, well, why is this one more expensive? And the answer is usually, say with calcium, like the cheap stuff is chalk. You're really not going to absorb chalk if you eat it, right? But the cheapest calcium you can find is chalk. But then you've got more expensive versions of calcium that you find on a shelf, say in like a Whole Foods, for example. And the answer to your question is, if you're using the right supplement for the right purpose, and it's a high quality supplement, you will absorb it. Now, you also might excrete excess that you don't need, but that's okay. You do that all the time. You do that with oxygen. Every time you breathe, you don't necessarily use 100% of it, right? You breathe some of it out. You do that with water. Would you tell someone not to drink water because you pee it out? I mean, I think these arguments are kind of silly at this point.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, what are some of the most important supplements that everyone should consider, taking into account that we are all different biologically, but you know, what are some of the basic ones? Yeah,
I think this is the question that I get asked the most, and this is the question why I started this company, because there is no one size. I will answer your question, but there is no one size fits all, right? And what I learned as a doctor is that I am a personalization engine. You don't go to a doctor to get a generic treatment. You go to a doctor to get the treatment that's personalized for you. But what I did learn throughout, my many years of practice is there's a few things that sort of everybody should take. So first would be a high quality multivitamin, right? Because it kind of covers like the broad strokes. There's a host of genetic, say, deficiencies that people could have. For example, you might have heard of like an MTHFR mutation. This is a problem with folic acid and your ability to properly use it. And that that can lead to a host of conditions. And a third of the population has this genetic mutation. So if you took a high quality multivitamin, you'd be covering that base. The second thing is fish oil, or if you're vegan, some kind of vegan omega-3, and they're doing great things now with vegan omegas from algae, of all places. So then the reason for that is, like, you know, we just talked about skin health. Your skin, every cell of your skin is covered with this sort of like fatty membrane. Your brain is mostly fat. You want to make sure you're taking in really good fats.
I can relate to that. My brain being mostly fat. But anyway, please continue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and the last one I would say is vitamin D. So, you know, study after study has shown that most people aren't getting adequate sun exposure. You make natural vitamin D from sun exposure. So the easiest thing you could do is take vitamin D. And even in the UK during COVID, they were recommending vitamin D can help mitigate some of the bad effects of COVID. So like multivitamin, fish oil, and vitamin D, I would say are the basics for just about everyone.
I have a couple of questions for you. I'm so glad you came today. I get all this advice for free. So one is, do you think that liquid vitamins are better absorbed by the body than a pill that has to break down?
That is also a really good question. And the answer is, of course, it depends, right? So a liquid vitamin is only going to be as absorbed as you actually take it. And what we find is that most people don't take liquid vitamins over time because you have to remember to do it, right? So some of the ways to make a liquid vitamin not great absorbable is, as I said before, using poor quality ingredients in it. But some of the ways to make a supplement that's like a capsule or tablet more absorbable would be to, like, most likely take it with food, and it would say that on the packet, because you take it with food, you get all your nice stomach acids to help digest it. And again, the form of the actual raw material is the most important thing. And what I found as a doctor is it doesn't matter what I prescribe, it's all about compliance, whether or not the person actually takes it for the duration of the time that they're supposed to. And in like the case of like the multivitamins that we just talked about, it's kind of something you want to do all the time. And just with liquid vitamins, we see people just forget to take it after a while because you don't have them with you, you just brushed your teeth. There's a host of reasons people don't do it. So maybe it's more absorbable, but in reality, you end up absorbing less because you end up taking less.
Oh, that's really interesting.
That's really interesting.
So my second question, can I ask it?
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the blood test. Can you get that through a site, or do you have to go to a doctor to get that blood test? And I mean, could you just go to a lab and say, these are the stats that I want measured, and take my blood and give me the answers?
So this is a great question. And I'm so fired up and excited about this because 5 years ago, the answer would have been, you've got to go to a doctor. Now, and over the next 5 years, we're seeing so many more of these at-home blood tests pop up. One of our clients that I can mention that does blood tests, they're called elo.health. And they're a great company that will send you an at-home blood test. It's this incredibly, like, I was so surprised that it's just painless. You put this little thing on your arm or on your thigh, you press a button, it sucks out a little bit of blood, you send it back, and then they can actually tell you what macro and micronutrients you are deficient in. And you could do that every 3 months. So you may find out you're deficient in A, B, and C right now. You start taking it, you test again in 3 months, and then you find out like what you should move on to and start taking next. So you can actually start doing this stuff now. And over the next couple of years, you're going to see so many more companies offering this kind of stuff at home. How do you spell that website? Yeah, it's ELO, ELO. Okay. ELO.health. I want to do that. I'm just curious. I take vitamin D. I take liquid vitamin D, but I do actually take it. But I am curious because I think that these deficiencies can really hurt us in ways we don't know. Everyone should do it. That's the thing. Like, this makes me kind of want to pull the little bit of hair I have left out because this is just low hanging fruit. Like, you know, people tend to come to a doctor after the problem has gotten so bad that they like can't ignore it anymore. But if you just treat the stuff upstream, if you just get to it sooner, but like by taking some supplements, you know, years ago, then we wouldn't have this problem today. So this stuff is so easy to do at home. And now we have all these tools. Like every single human being should be figuring out what supplements they should take to optimize their wellness now and avoid disease states later.
Well, and I think that's really interesting because Marci kind of stole my question. I have to admit that sometimes I've been a little bit of a supplement skeptic too. And part of it is the market is so unregulated, right? And so when you're taking these things, you're hoping that the labeling is, correct, and that the manufacturing is correct. And it, but your process, solves that. So I think, I would imagine that you have, a very good environment for creating the supplements that you do. But if we can do regular blood tests and you actually see that the supplements are making their way into the bloodstream, then that definitely makes me more interested in seeing what deficiencies I have and if they can be treated, right? So there, so I really think that that's a good thing for the industry, right? And where can people find sort of like a list, a serious list of best supplement makers, right? I mean, where because everybody's going to say they have great supplements, even if they don't. So how does a consumer get that information?
That is also a very good question, and it's a tough one to answer. It's almost easier to say what to avoid, right? So there's definitely bad actors in every industry, right? We heard about a potential rabbit genocide at the beginning of the show, right? So there's always bad actors, but that shouldn't prevent you from like Marci said, like taking the action you need to improve your life. And this stuff could be easy. So generally, I think the major pharmacies, like the chain pharmacies, tend to carry brands that are cheap and aren't of the highest quality. Now, you said before that this is a largely unregulated industry, and it's kind of true and it isn't true. So the FDA does certainly regulate the supplement industry, and there's a regulation called GMP, and any company that's GMP certified is following those guidelines. So that's like the first thing that you want to look for is like, is this company GMP certified, right? And so of course, OK Capsule is, and everything we produce and package like falls under that category. What you're seeing now more and more is with the supplements, it really comes down to like, can I trust this brand, right? So if brands are telling you, we use this form of folic acid because it's methylated, and even though it's more expensive, we put it in here because it's more absorbable, and they're transparent in their supply chain and where they're sourcing it. Like, you can start to develop that sort of consumer trust that you would for any brand. And, that's really what you need to look for in the supplement industry, which is true in a lot of industries. You need to be able to trust the brand you're taking, and the brand needs to be able to tell their story and tell you, why they're more expensive than the stuff you might find at on the shelf at Walgreens, for example.
That is so true, because I got to tell you this little story quickly. There was this beautiful pottery and like kitchenware, and they had this catalog, and they make it in New York, upstate New York, and it's popular and it's really gorgeous. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Made in upstate New York. I don't have to worry about it. I bought a few pieces. Guess where it was made? In China.
Not in upstate New York.
In China. Even though they're branding and they show these like pottery barns where their people are working on making this stuff and everything. So their story is we make it. And then their excuse is, well, we design it up there. But so it is true for any industry.
So China made in China.
Yes, China made in China. No, it wasn't China.
You bring up an interesting point, though. A lot of the raw materials in the supplement industry do come from China, and that doesn't mean they're bad, right? Like there are some Chinese manufacturers who are GMP certified. They follow American FDA guidelines, and it really comes down like, it's so hard for a consumer to know this. It really comes down to finding brands you can trust And those brands are sharing supply chain transparency. They're sharing why they use the forms that they do. Todd's company, they use organic where possible, right? And so it's like when you see a company doing that, you kind of know their head's in the right place.
Yeah. So we're getting to the end of our segment, but Marci, did you have one final comment?
Well, so when you find out the deficiencies, how do you then, I'm sorry, do you provide the pills for the vitamins?
Yeah. So we're a B2B
Yeah.
company. So that's something to I want to make clear here. So we are B2B, we're in the background. So we provide technology that allows any brand to do their personalization. So what would happen is, let's just assume it was GNC, right? You go on GNC's website. We have GNC's pills in our warehouse. I'm not saying we do, I'm just saying that in this example, we'd have their pills in our warehouse. You would go on their website, you might decide, you might take a quiz, and it would tell you, hey, Marci, you need vitamins A, B, C, and D, right? That order gets sent to us, and then we would package A, B, C, and D in a packet that says Marci. We'd give you a 30-day supply of it and drop ship it to you in GNC's. And we do this for any brand that wants to do personalization. And the reason is that's millions of dollars worth of technology, equipment, and a GMP factory that we have, that every individual brand would need to provide that on their own, or we could do it for them. What I kind of say is, like, if you want to sell sneakers on the internet, your first step is not building a payment processor, right? That's ridiculous. It's not your business model, right? You use Stripe or someone that does payment processing so you can focus on your business. Our business is to do the personalization in the background, so brands that have trust, say like a GNC, could sell a personalized product without having to invest millions of dollars in it upfront.
Yeah, no,
That's
awesome.
great. Yeah, and we appreciate you bringing the awareness of these types of personalized supplement packages to our attention, because it's a new concept. People probably aren't used to getting personalized supplement packages, and you're helping spread the word that these kinds of packages are out there. So
Right. And so if people go to your website, Dr. Andrew, can they find resources for getting the tests done and where they can buy the vitamins?
Nope, that would be great if we did that. But as a B2B company, as private labeler, we're in the background. These companies, they want to look like they're providing all these services themselves. So again, like, this is a show for entrepreneurs, right? Like, this is a B2B business that most end consumers wouldn't come and find us. However, if you just search personalized supplements on Google, you'll probably find a host of companies that can walk you through, a quiz or blood test or whatever. And chances are we're the technology behind them.
Okay.
great.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. So your website is okcapsule.com, but that's for other businesses that are making
So
these and they
Google
want help.
personalized
That want to sell.
Yeah. So Google personalized supplements and blood tests, but I'm going to go do that. And I'm assuming that you've done it yourself too, right?
Oh yeah, I do it often. I mean, you should see my medicine cabinet. I mean, this is one of the reasons I started this company, because it's so much easier to take pills. It's so much easier to take pills in a packet that you can have with you in your pockets, in your gym bag, wherever, and just tear it open and take it. And like, I know how much this stuff works. I've seen it work on thousands and thousands of people if you just take the right stuff at the right time. And so putting it in little packets for you just makes world of difference. So yeah, I do it all.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, everybody, that was Dr. Andrew Brandeis, changing the state of health. We hope. I'm certainly going to change the state
for the
of
better.
Yes, for the better. And so you are listening to Passage to Profit, Road to Entrepreneurship with Richard and Elizabeth Gearhart and our special guest, Marci Hopkins. And this has been a fantastic show. We always say we're at the forefront of technology, and we're bringing things to people they haven't seen before. And we love these kind of shows. We love these kind of guests. So we will be back. If you missed it, you can find our podcast. You can go to our YouTube channel to see everybody if you want to see what we look like. And we will be right back after these messages.
Welcome back, everybody, to Passage to Profit. It's been a marvelous show in so many ways, and we really appreciate you joining us today. And now it's time for our favorite co-hosts, Elizabeth Gearhart's question of the week. So Elizabeth, please.
Yeah, so these questions vary week to week. So this one is kind of not super serious, but I think it tells you a little bit about the person. So we're going to start with Marci since she's our guest. And the question is, dun, 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 what's your favorite board game or any game?
I play all the time with my kids a card game called Kings in the Corner, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I don't think I heard that one.
Oh, I don't think I've heard
It's
that.
so look it up. It's a new card game, and like you know what I love about cards is you can do it anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
airport, doctor's office.
I don't know. You need a flat surface. But,
Okay, excellent. So, Todd, what is your favorite board game or any kind of game?
Yeah, I use the term favorite loosely here. I've been playing a lot of Scrabble, and it's fun in an intellectually stimulating way. It's really sometimes after the game, my brain feels like it's going to explode because I've been trying to think of like these words for a while. But I like to exercise the noggin. So
Do you
that's
do
all.
like crossword puzzles too? I always wonder if like Scrabble fans also like crossword puzzles.
So my parents were both huge crossword puzzle fanatics, and I'm okay with those. This new game Wordle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Wordle. That's a good one too.
Okay, good. Well, I realized something. I kind of feel like Steve Harvey on Family Feud. We watch that every once in a while when we want to just like zone out. I ask everybody the question every time. So, Dr. Andrew, what's your favorite board game?
So I'm reaching back into my childhood here to remember like what was my favorite board game, and I came up with Trivial Pursuit. It's an oldie, and I'm thinking like, why did I like that so much? And I guess I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I'm a nerd and always have been. And like maybe that's why I became a doctor, right? I just like random information that I can store in my head, and I think Trivial Pursuit was a way for me to get some sort of recognition for that.
Oh, that's great. That's not trivial, by the way. So
Okay, so
I get to put dad jokes in.
So
Dad jokes are okay.
So now it's time for the snarky answer. So Richard, my favorite co-host, what's your favorite board game or game?
Oh, there's so many to choose from.
Can't say beer pong.
How did you know I was going to say beer pong? But since you took that for yourself.
No, that's not mine.
Yeah, well, then why'd you bring it up? Anyway, I think I'm going to go with the classic Monopoly. I really like that because it involves money and real estate, two of my passions, and I just like the play money from Monopoly. So and yeah.
So my favorite board game is, well, it's not really a board game, but it's something
It's not
that,
beer pong.
it's something I can never get anybody else in the family to play with me. So I think I'm like the
Oh,
only one that
I
likes
know
this
what the
game.
answer is to this one.
What?
Is it Yahtzee?
Yes, I love Yahtzee. I love like
That's
trying
because
to
she always wins,
No.
right? And that's why nobody wants to play with her, because she
will
the kids are like just
turn over.
the kids are like, oh, mom wants to win at Yahtzee again,
No, but I've always loved Yahtzee. It's like okay, I'm gonna will the dice all come out sixes, and I think that's maybe happened to me once in my life, or maybe not. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you have like you're tapped into the Yahtzee winning ray in the universe, right? When the universe speaks to you, there's like a special Yahtzee thing.
There's a special way to shake the dice.
Yeah. So
Yeah, anyway.
you're blessed with that for sure. It's part of your superpower.
So yes, I do think that games are fun and they're good to play every once in a while. You just want some diversion instead of watching TV or all the other stuff that we do. So anyway, that is pretty much everything we were going to talk about today. I could have talked a lot longer with everybody.
Yeah. So Marci, do you have any final thoughts for our audience before we depart?
I'll just go back to what I like to share, and that's about that your past does not define you, and that each day we have is a gift, and it's possible for you to make a change, do something good for yourself, do something good for someone else, be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and just, just realize that each day is a gift.
Oh, that's
That's-
awesome. And I think that's really great advice.
Yeah.
So if you want to see more about Marci, go to her website, wakeupwithmarci.com. And you can find out a lot more there, and you can see where you could watch her TV show. And if you want to find Waxelene with Todd's product, go to Waxelene, WAXELENE.com. And then if you want to find these blood tests and capsules that Dr. Andrew was talking about, look online for personalized supplements.
Right. But don't go to his website
Well, his website's B2B unless you have supplements you want him to make.
unless
for
you're
you,
in the
then you-
supplement business.
Right. Then
Yeah,
you can go to his
then
website.
definitely go to his website.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, we need to sign off for this week, but we'll return to this station next week with another episode of Passage to Profit. And before we go, I'd like to thank the Passage to Profit team, Noah Fleischman, our producer, who really makes us, especially the hosts, sound better than we really are.
Yeah, no. it's great.
And Alicia Morrissey, who is actually a jazz singer, and we are going to start playing some of her music.
We hope.
We hope on the show. And our program and our syndicator, Mark Wilson. Thank you very much, Mark. And our podcast can be found tomorrow. Anywhere you find your podcast, just look for the Passage to Profit Show. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And remember, while the information provided during this program is believed to be correct, never take a legal step like destroying chocolate bunnies without first checking with your legal professional. This is Richard and Elizabeth signing off for now. We'll see you next week.